Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election. And it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there? Good day. It's February 7th, Wednesday, 2018. I'm Papa Bear, and this, my friends, is What's Out There. We have a lot going on with government, and I'm sure everybody's been fed right up to the gills with government right about now, but I really have to tell you there's a lot going on behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't hearing about. Okay. There was a 16-year plan to destroy America, and it all started with Barack Obama. Okay. Here's the thing. Hillary Clinton never thought she would lose. She was overconfident. She didn't cover her tracks. Now, the 16-year plan basically goes like this. We're going to have Barack or Obama for 8 years. We're going to install rogue ops, leak intel and military assets, cut funding to the military, and take the command away from the generals. How it works, outlining their plans over 16 years during the Barack Hussein Obama's 8 years in office. They infiltrated the U.S. political and justice systems with Brennan, Clapper, Lynch, Comey, etc. And then they leaked CIA intel to weaken the military and national defense and NASA. Vastly reduced military funds, reduced the USA to a second-rate world power, and demote military command and forced retirement. Remember, we saw that a few years back. Now you start to launch the good guy takedown, or the internal removal. Valerie Jarrett. She sniffed out the patriots and the constitutional loyalists to remove them from the bureaucracy. Get them out. You can't have anybody who's good to the country, right? The SAP sell-off, the Snowden open source, Prism key score stuff, and the bad actors with the CIA and NSA and such. Well, the idea was to compromise all the above top-secret programs, SAP docs for sale on the Clinton server, and the CIA used Snowden to discredit or hurt the NSA. The CIA and the media, IRS, were used to attack the Republicans, remember that, and weaken that conservative base. Then, next step is to open the border and flood it with illegals, ensuring a Democrat win, targeting and removing domestic assets. So you've got your DACA, you flood your illegal votes to win the votes, and create, fund, and equip ISIS and Antifa. Then you turn a blind eye to North Korea, okay? Let them build up their nukes. They ignored the North Korea nuclear program, blocked intel, U.S. military. Intel conspirators helped Clapper, CrowdStrike, fake intel set up Russian collusion, aided Iran nuke program, billions of dollars, lifted sanctions, if you remember this, right? The deep state penetrated DNI, CIA, DOJ, FBI, Senate rank members. And then the setup, Supreme Court, Antonin Scalia murder. And the idea was to get a Supreme Court justice in there. And then, of course, Uranium One. You take the U.S. uranium and give it to the rogue states. Remember, 20% of U.S. uranium going to Russia and other places. And then stop NASA. Prevent space domination, bad actors. Okay? Going to take down the military satellites, SATs, secure the install of WMDs, risk of EMP space, all this stuff, okay? The idea was to shut down NASA, give Schmidt and Elon Musk military satellites, and let rogue states arm space and cripple national defense. After that, it was going to be infiltrate all intelligence entity services, or all intelligence entities, there we go. And that was where the first 8 years ended. This is now where the second 8 years was supposed to come in. This would be with the Hillary Rodham Clinton World War III death weapons and the real fake and controlled wars, the population control and all that stuff, okay? Her 8-year term would start World War III. It will control the narrative and get money. They're going to eliminate rogue ops within the government and the military. So they clean the U.S. of remaining patriots, death of the middle class and the poorest slaves for food country with illegal democratic, fled country with illegal democratic votes, ratify Constitution removing the Bill of Rights, kill the Second Amendment, and permanently disarm the population. After that, you install your team on the Supreme Court justices to ensure a legal win across the whole deal. Okay, you infiltrate the Supreme Court, kill all challengers. Remember Scalia, right? And then the removal of the college, the Electoral College, for the popular vote. Of course, it's a whole lot easier to win like that if you remember the voting back in 2016, how well that went. The big controversy, popular vote and electoral vote, and there's a reason why there was an electoral vote, believe me. The government was set up. It was strategic when it was put together. Limit and remove funding of the military and the closure of military installations, starting with Germany. It was going to disarm the United States worldwide and prevent military coups. The destruction of opposing MSM, other news outlets, and censoring. Okay, it's the death of the press and journalism, free speech, only mainstream media narrative is acceptable. World domination complete, Church of Satan, rich bankers rule the enslaved poor. It's pure evil. The plan is pure evil. It's pure evil, capable of mass murder and nuclear war. Basically, the CIA's daily talking points caught 4 a.m. Mainstream media plans to brand Sessions and Nunes as Russian agents and GOP memo lies. So that's the idea. They're going to try to pin this on a whole bunch of other people, and they're going to say, oh, well, this is all lies. We have a counter memo. Remember that counter memo? Which is going to have to be redacted because the counter... it seems as though the counter memo didn't go too well. There was too much unmasking, okay? And the FBI FISA lies, we unmasked all of those. Carter Page was undercover for the FBI before the FBI told FISA that he was a foreign spy. Pretty weird, huh? He was not a foreign spy. Okay, he was working for the FBI. He's never spoken with Trump at all. And ever. Carter Page was an FBI undercover employee in 2013 and remained the primary FBI witness through May of 2016. If Carter Page was working as a UCE, or an undercover agent, responsible for the bust of high-level Russian agent in 2013, and remained a UCE throughout the court case up to May of 2016. How is it possible that on October 21st of 2016, Carter Page is put under a FISA Title I surveillance warrant as an alleged Russian agent? He wasn't. The DOJ, National Security Division of the FBI Counterintelligence Division, flat out lied. Because the FISA Title I surveillance authority against a U.S. citizen is so serious, the U.S. government is essentially calling the target a spy. Only a few people are authorized to even apply for such surveillance warrants. One of the 4 people authorized to make such a filing is the Assistant Attorney General, who is the head of the National Security Division of the DOJ. And that person is John Carlin, the same John Carlin together with the FBI Counterintelligence Unit, hired Carter Page as an FBI undercover employee, turns around and 6 months later accuses Page of being a Russian spy because DOJ, NSD, and FBI COINTEL needed to find a way to spy on the Trump campaign. The 2016 FISA Title I surveillance of former FBI employee Carter Page became that legal way. It's the insurance policy. That's what they called it, remember? They needed to have an insurance policy. That was it right there. That was it. Oh, goodness. Maxine Waters, Crazy Maxine, Mad Max, she's arranging for 41,000 Somali refugees for South Central Los Angeles in secret with care. All right? She wants to bring in, there was a letter written by Maxine Waters to the chief operating officer of One United Bank, which describes itself as America's largest black-owned bank. Goes on to say she expects these refugees to be housed in new apartments and condominium units, which are built thanks to underwriting by that bank. More stunning is her closing remark that the election cycle has begun and she expects to become the Speaker of the House. Oh boy, sounds pretty good, huh? If bringing in up to 41,000 uneducated Somali third worlders wasn't bad enough, putting them in brand new housing, doesn't that drive you nuts? How about the fact that right now Los Angeles has such a problem with homeless people that a hepatitis outbreak is actually killing many of them because they crap on the streets and they become infected. And instead of helping Americans in her district, she's bringing in refugees from an African country and putting them in brand new housing. These people are oh my goodness. Hey, wow. You got to like it. Yeah, well, you don't have to like it, I guess, but I'll tell you if you don't. You have to like it because it sure does help. How about that? Let's change the tone a little bit. Let's kick on medical marijuana. Because marijuana seems to be coming around a lot lately. Medical marijuana bill passes Virginia Senate 40-0. The Virginia Senate voted unanimously Monday to pass the Joint Commission on Health Care Bill SB 726, which will let Virginia doctors recommend the use of cannabidiol, or THCA oil for the treatment of any diagnosed condition or disease. This comes on the heels of Friday's unanimous passing of the companion bill, HB 1251, in Virginia House of Delegates. I finally decided that I needed to advocate for the physicians being the decision makers, said Senator Sayaban Donovan, the chief patron of the Senate bill. We physicians are the ones that follow the literature and know which treatments are best for different conditions. The literature on medical cannabis is going to be evolving rapidly now, and because of this, it's not a decision that should be in the hands of the legislature. Instead, it should be with the physicians. Regular Virginians suffering from a variety of conditions, including cancer, Crohn's, PTSD, have lobbied passionately for this reform. Which reminds me, since we talk about Crohn's, apparently marijuana leads to the complete remission of Crohn's with no side effects. The list of diseases that cannabis has been shown to be effective for treating just keeps growing. The latest addition, Crohn's. Crohn's disease is an incredibly painful and as yet incurable condition. People diagnosed with Crohn's and other IBS-related programs, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, I guess, often suffer years of unsuccessful treatments as doctors struggle to get to the root of the problem. While treatments exist, they're inconsistent between patients, and many sufferers have been forced to live with the knowledge that their condition may never be treatable. But new exciting research has shown that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for Crohn's sufferers, and the answer lies in cannabis. In just a few short years, cannabis has gone from being an illegal taboo drug to a cure for many once untreatable medical conditions. THC extracted from cannabis plants has been successful in the treating of all manner of conditions such as epilepsy, PTSD, and even cancer. While the science behind the drug is still very new, the tests are ongoing as to how and why cannabis is an effective drug. The studies are proving time and time again that it does work where other drugs have fallen down. The study has been published in the Clinical Gastroenterology and Hepatology journal, documenting the effect of the cannabis sativa plant had on Crohn's and IBS sufferers. The study was conducted on 21 Crohn's disease patients, 13 men and 8 women, who have all received unsuccessful treatments for their conditions in the past in the form of steroidal therapy, immunomodulators, or anti-tumor agents. The group was split into two, with one group given 115 milligrams of THC in the form of rolled cannabis 2 times a day. The placebo group were given cannabis without THC. The study authors noted these amazing results. Complete remission in 5 of 11 subjects in the cannabis THC group. Clinical responses in 10 of 11 subjects in the cannabis THC groups. In other words, their Crohn's disease activity index went from 200 to 100. 3 of 11 subjects in the cannabis THC group were weaned from steroid dependency. All subjects in the cannabis THC group reported having improved sleep and appetites with no significant side effects. But, of course, with every new form of medicine, further testing is going to need to be done in order for that study to be substantiated. But the initial results are pretty good. They show positive for the study patients and, of course, other Crohn's sufferers. So there's something good for people who have Crohn's. I know a woman who has Crohn's, and she's having a pretty hard time. And most people who have that have also other allergies too. Like she has allergies to peanut butter and things like that. Ohio toddler found frozen to death on a porch. This is Akron, Ohio. A toddler froze to death on a porch in Ohio. Police say a mother called 911 frantic after finding her 2-year-old daughter unresponsive. Neighbors say the woman keeps to herself and has 2 children. I cried because I don't understand how a 2-year-old could be outside. And Crystal Lucas said, and you not know, she says. They also say they've seen both children left outside alone before. I've had to take the baby home because she'll be outside playing. It was a few times I had to take both of her kids home. There's no word yet on whether the mother will be charged in the incident. But that's just crazy. I mean, a 2-year-old child sitting out in the snow freezes to death. That's America. This is quite the place. We have a murderous country, I guess you will. There's a lot of things going on. Mostly murders. And I'd say murders because that seems to be what keeps going on lately. How many people are getting killed and where and what places are safe and what aren't. So, to give you an idea, we're going to give you a list of the deadliest United States cities. And we're going to start with the safest one first, okay? And there's about 60 of these, so bear with me. Nassau County, New York. The murder rate in Nassau County on Long Island is 0.2 per 100,000 people. 3 people were murdered between January 1st and June 30th, 2017. Now, what I'm going to give you is a per capita number, which they give me, which is so many per 100,000 people, okay? Fairfax, Virginia. The murder rate in Fairfax is 0.8 per 100,000. Montgomery, Maryland is 0.9, and Suffolk County, New York is also 0.9. That's on Long Island, New York. Salt Lake City, Utah, 1 even per 100,000. Austin, Texas is 1.2. San Diego, California, 1.2. Those two were tied. 17 people were murdered in San Diego in the first half of 2017. Next is Seattle, Washington. The murder rate is 1.3. Tie was San Jose, California at 1.5, and also New York City, both the same. Another tie in Mesa, Arizona with 1.9, and El Paso, Texas with 1.9 per 100,000. Long Beach, California, 2.3. Virginia Beach, Virginia, 2.4. Boston, Massachusetts, 3 people per 100,000 every year. Imagine. Omaha, Nebraska, 3.1. Los Angeles, California, 3.5. Tucson, Arizona, 3.8. San Francisco, California, 3.9. And a tie with Denver, Colorado at 4.0 and Honolulu, Hawaii at 4 per 100,000. San Antonio, Texas, 4.1. Phoenix, Arizona is tied at 4.3 with Prince George's County, Maryland. Fort Worth, Texas, 4.6. Wichita, Kansas is 4.9. There's a tie with Aurora, Colorado, which is just outside Denver at 5, and Tampa, Florida, which is 5 per 100,000. Orlando, Florida, 5.1. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 5.5. Houston, Texas, a tie at 5.6 with Houston and DeKalb County, Georgia. Another tie with Charlotte and Mecklenburg, North Carolina at 5.6, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico, 5.7. Miami, Florida is also 5.7. I think we're about halfway through the list, people. Dallas, Texas, 6.3 per 100,000. It's unchanged compared with the same period last year. Fresno, California is at 6.7, along with Indianapolis, Indiana. They're tied. 7.3 in Jacksonville, Florida. Columbus, Ohio, the murder rate is 7.7 per 100,000. 66 people were murdered in that city in the first half of 2017. The murder rate in Atlanta is 7.8 per 100,000. Nashville, Tennessee is 8. Washington, D.C. is 8.1, along with Oakland, California, 8.1. They're tied. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 8.6. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 9.2. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 9.9. No kidding. Newark, New Jersey, 10.3 per 100,000. But the rate is down more than 50% compared with the same period last year. Tulsa, Oklahoma, the murder rate in Tulsa is 10.7. Louisville, Kentucky is 10.8. Las Vegas, Nevada, 10.9. Cincinnati, Ohio, 11. Chicago, Illinois. This is, we're talking now from the top 8, or top 10 now. This is number 8. Murder rate in Chicago is 12.1. Number 7, Memphis, Tennessee, 12.7. Kansas City at number 6 with 14.1. At number 5, Cleveland, Ohio with 14.5. Number 4, Detroit, Michigan with 20.2. New Orleans, Louisiana with 24.5. 96 people were murdered in the city in the first half of 2017. Number 2, Baltimore, Maryland, 27.3 per 100,000. Speaking of Baltimore, we're going to get back to that. St. Louis, Missouri, number 1 at 29.1 per 100,000. That's almost 30 people per 100,000 killed per year. It's the highest of all cities included in the police chief's data. 92 people were murdered in that city in the first half of 2017. Now, that was last year. That's the first half of the year. Is that when all the riots happened in St. Louis? I don't know if that's changed or not. But we did mention, or I did mention, that the there was police officers, and it seems as though there were police officers that were hired by Baltimore that were totally unqualified. Baltimore Police Department is graduating unqualified new cops and giving them guns. The premier police union is unimpressed with the quality of the city's new recruits and is letting the Baltimore police know it. The Fraternal Order of Police smacked the Baltimore Police Department Monday after police instructor Sergeant Josh Rosenblatt voiced skepticism over the preparedness of a batch of recruits. Lieutenant Gene Grant, president of the local Fraternal Order of Police Lodge, said the department should adopt a more stringent process to weed out more applicants who aren't suited for the job. Rosenblatt said 17 of the 50 recruits who graduated this weekend had repeatedly failed their tests. They only passed when police brass removed Rosenblatt from the process and substituted an easier test. So basically, he says, we're giving them a badge and a gun tomorrow. The right to take someone's liberty, ultimately the right to take someone's life, if it calls for it. And they have not demonstrated they can meet basic constitutional and legal standards. It's not good. It's not good. So let's not sugarcoat this. Criminals found a gap in the system and took full advantage of it. And that's what happened in Baltimore. But apparently what happened in Baltimore was kind of taken advantage of by their governor? The mayor? I think it was the mayor that... Anyway, it was pretty well encouraged. That's what's out there. You're listening to What's Out There, and we shall be back.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. There are days that the red pill because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The L&M Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the L&M Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So, become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Goodness, got to put the credits out here. Shouts out, big shouts out to latenightinthe-midlands.com, of course our mothership, lnmradio.com, or lnmradionetwork.com, iTunes, Paranormal Radio, and WCET 101.7 FM, Columbia Talk. And of course, LNM Radio Network, Late Night in the Midlands, is our mothership. Without Late Night in the Midlands, well, I guess there wouldn't be us. So head on over to the website, latenightinthe-midlands.com or lnmradionetwork.com. Chat and listen over there at the website. Click on the donate button, because without you, there is no us. And we need you for support. We are 100% listener supported. Okay, so just so you know. And anyway, back where we were. Where were we? We were talking about crime rates and this, that, and the other. All right. And I do want to let you know that Homeland Security, just want to let you know about this. The refugee settlement costs, they're over $8 billion in 5 years. Okay. Over a 5-year period, American taxpayers have billed more than $8 billion for the resettlement of thousands of foreign refugees every year. In research conducted by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, analysts concluded that annual refugee resettlement costs American taxpayers about $1.8 billion a year, and over 5 years about $8.8 billion. Unbelievable. You know, somebody said that, well, having those people in here creates tax revenue. You know, how much tax revenue does it create? Does it create $8 billion? 9 billion, 10 billion, anything over that 8.8 billion? That's what you got to compare those to. What's the cost of keeping them here? Because everybody knows how the government loves to waste money, okay? If it's a government project, it doesn't matter. You know, you throw out the bill, yeah, we'll pay it. Who's paying it? Oh, the government's paying it. It just comes out of the government. It comes out of who? The government. What does the government do to make money? What do they earn money? They earn it from taxes, right? They earn it from you and me and everybody else who pays into the system. That's why they earn money. They earn every gallon of gas you buy. You pay taxes to them and to your state. There are taxes that go, believe me, they're being funded. They're being funded through the taxes you're paying every day. And it doesn't matter what your status is to buy that stuff. If you're buying it, you're paying the taxes. unless, of course, for some reason you're tax exempt. But the findings include the cost per refugee to American taxpayers just under $79,600 per year in the first 5 years after a refugee is settled or resettled in the U.S. In 2016, the State Department spent nearly $545 million to process and resettle refugees, including $140,389,177 on transportation costs. Transportation costs? Was that bringing them in? It's not taking them out, that's for sure. Of the $1.8 billion in resettlement costs, $867 million was spent on welfare alone. In their first 5 years, approximately 54% of all refugees will hold jobs that pay less than $11 an hour. $71 million will be spent to educate refugees and asylum seekers, a majority of which will be paid by state and local governments. Over 5 years, an estimated 15.7% of all refugees will need housing assistance, which is roughly $7,600 per household in 2014 dollars. Okay, so I got this from Breitbart. Okay, so don't give me a hard time about my sources. President Trump, a critic of mass resettling foreign refugees throughout the U.S., lowered the number of refugees admitted to the country, reducing the annual flow of refugees by 70% in his first year in office. In the first 11 months, Trump admitted 28,875 foreign refugees to the U.S., a vast difference from the whopping 93,668 foreign refugees admitted in the same time period under Obama. Likewise, for fiscal year 2018, Trump has lowered the number of refugees who can enter the U.S. to 45,000, the lowest refugee cap since 1980. So there's some good news there. The lowest cap since 1980. Oh my. And of course, there's a whole lot out here. Rand Paul wants to, he calls for automatic cuts if Congress can't reach a budget deal. Okay. He held a hearing to discuss wasteful government spending. Rand Paul is very heavily into waste. Okay. He wants to get rid of that. And of course, the impact it has on the American taxpayers, calling the event terrible, no good, very bad ways of funding government. Rand Paul, who is the chairman of the Federal Spending Oversight and Emergency Management Subcommittee for the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, boy, say that 3 times. Goodness. It'd take you a week to say what your job title is. HSGAC, how about that? He discussed his Government Shutdown Prevention Act. This is a bill he introduced in January, encouraging Congress to properly consider and debate new legislation involving spending. Paul said an omnibus spending bill is only slightly less bad than a continuing resolution. He agreed that his bill would prevent government shutdowns in the future, adding a 1% cut to funding levels for any agency, program, or activity that Congress neglected to fund by the staff for the fiscal year on October 1st. So for every additional 90 days after that first cut, funding would be reduced again by another 1% until an agreement can be reached on spending. How can Congress do proper oversight of spending when we throw everything into one giant $1 trillion bill, Paul asked. Congress is supposed to take a close look at 12 appropriations bills funding specific areas of the government and debate and amend them. He said the shutdowns ultimately harm the American taxpayers, only funding the government short-term through continuing resolutions and giant spending bills. He also notes that Congress' frequent ignoring of regular appropriations process restricts the proper oversight of government spending needed to eliminate wasteful spending by federal agencies. He says, I don't want to shut down the government, but I'm not sure I want to keep it open unless we reform it. Democratic Senator Gary Peters agrees. He says, we've failed time and time again to live up to our standards. Peters, who spoke at the hearing with Paul, said congressional deficit spending. Paul also said he likes the idea of canceled recess as punishment as a hammer if Congress fails to do its job. I like no recess idea. I think it actually might work. You'd be surprised how often people want to either go home or go somewhere else besides Washington, D.C., and that might help. Basically, spending goes down by 1%, and we both know both sides don't want spending to go down. They're all for more spending. Maybe they would say, oh my goodness, all the special interests who want this money are going to be knocking on our door and yelling and screaming. So then they'll do it on time. So, I don't know. Let's hope, because, this whole government shutdown, threat of a shutdown and things like that, it's really, really, really not a good thing. Lieberman, Joe Lieberman from Connecticut, if anybody remembers him. Incivility threatens to destroy our democracy. This guy, I don't know. He's an independent. I don't know why he became an independent. He seems to be quite in line with the Democrat Party. But anyway, the lack of civility in our government threatens to do something that we as a nation would never allow terrorists to do: destroy our democracy. Joe Lieberman wrote in a column for The Hill. The biggest threat to the U.S. lies within, Lieberman writes. The attackers on 9/11 never stood a chance against the American people, and outsiders who wish to harm us never will, Lieberman wrote for The Hill. But we have the capacity to destroy our democracy ourselves. Civility is the foundation of a productive democracy. However, civility seems to have left our national government, allowing polarization to fester and basic work of Congress to be stifled. No one will remember what they were when the government shut down. But that was another symptom that doesn't bode well. Today, we confront more tempestuous political environment. The basic rhythms of the national legislative process, the norms that prompted Republicans and Democrats to work together in the service of the greater good, are gone, Lieberman wrote. Our democracy is proving unable to meet the challenges of the moment. We feel real trouble ahead. And he should be saying that, because everything is divided. The Democrats don't stand for anything. Good news. You show them good news, they don't like it. It's envy. It's like you have something they want. A coup. There's a coup going on. All right. And I might have to just go right into this and check it out. But Homeland Security Committee releases the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton. They released troves of documents Wednesday highlighting the FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. The near 3-year investigation was spearheaded by Ron Johnson, chairman, and specifically highlights text messages between FBI counterintelligence official Peter Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page. The techs who worked on the Clinton probe and were engaged in an extramarital affair show they talked about serving to protect the country from the menace of enablers and then presidential nominee Donald Trump. Okay? And the worst thing is, Barack Obama wanted all this stuff to come right back to him. I need to know what's going on. He says he needs to know what's going on. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Well, let's hit some homeland stuff here. Let's get right home. You are now breathing ethylene dibromide, virally mutated molds, nanoparticles of aluminum and barium and polymer fibers with unidentified bioactive material. This was originally published earlier. This is on A Sheep No More. But I'm not sure how credible this is, so you might want to check it out. The image basically shows that we've got all kinds of stuff here. Your life expectancy, well, blood testing reveals barium 150 times higher than safe. Do you have toxic levels of barium and aluminum in your blood? A number of people living in Arizona have discovered that they have blood levels of aluminum and barium 150 times higher than the amount considered safe. Many are experiencing the classic symptoms of barium poisoning. Barium damages the immune system, causes dose-related muscle weakness, up to total paralysis, including heart and lung muscles. Arizona, like the rest of the country, has experienced heavy chemtrailing since 1997. So there's a good reason to suspect there may be a widespread problem with toxic levels of barium and aluminum in the U.S. population. Life expectancy dropped to 69.3 years in the USA. How much is 8 years of your life worth? In 2003, life expectancy in the United States was 77.6 years. The drop to 69.3 years since 2003, a drop of 8 years in less than 6, is startling information. This period of time just happens to coincide with a time when there has been nonstop spraying of chemtrails coast to coast on almost a daily basis. There is plenty of scientific research proving that any increase in airborne particles causes a corresponding increase in death rate of the exposed population. So, chemtrails are a glaringly obviously factor in a significant drop in expected lifespan. Widespread chemtrail sickness in Idaho. Sedatives found in chemtrails, according to a report published on August 28, 2006, the Idaho Observer recent labs report found the following in samples of chemtrail fallout. Bacteria, including anthrax and pneumonia. 9 chemicals, including acetylchlorine chloride. 26 heavy metals, including arsenic, lead, barium, mercury, and uranium. 4 moles and fungi. 7 viruses, 2 cancers, 2 vaccines, and 2 sedatives. Wow, this stuff is all going through the air. Chemtrail polymers may be linked to Morgellons. Okay, Morgellons fibers? As a polymer chemist, Dr. Michael Castle has studied atmospheric polymers for years. He found that some of them contained bioactive materials which can cause serious skin lesions and diseases when absorbed into the skin. He's identified microscopic polymers compromised of genetically engineered fungal forms mutated with viruses. He says that trillions of fusarium, or fungus, virus-mutated spores, which secrete a powerful mycotoxin, are part of the air we breathe. So this stuff, and you can't call it chemtrailing. You can call it chemtrailing, but if you use that, you've got you're a conspiracy theorist, right? So you can't use the chemtrail thing. You have to use oh my goodness. Forget it. Lost my train of thought. Chemtrailing, watch out. Stay inside as much as you can. And if you want to get rid of that Morgellons, put some Epsom salts in your water. Raise that pH in the water. And that will neutralize. It has a negative charge. It's going to neutralize that positive charge that your water has. And again, also in the news here, new report finds that 76 deaths last year of children in Massachusetts under state supervision. In 2017, there were 76 deaths of children under state care or supervision, 25 reports of near fatalities, and 9 serious bodily injuries, according to a report released Tuesday by the Office of Child Advocate. This is in Boston. All these numbers have increased over the last 3 years. By far, the largest number of incidents were reported by the Department of Children and Families, although some came from agencies tasked with dealing with children with disabilities, mental health, or physical health problems who are involved in the criminal justice system. The report comes on the heels of 2 audits that identifies problems with the state systems tasked with looking for children. State officials from DCF and the Education Department said both agencies are improving. Improving? Really? The audit of the Child Welfare Agency says they failed to report 118 incidents of sex abuse. Sex abuse. The legislative oversight hearing was called in response to 2 separate audits. State Auditor Suzanne Bump found that DCF did not report 118 incidents of sexual abuse of a child in the agency's care, because sexual abuse did not rise to the definition of a critical incident, is what they say. Photos from a federal audit show unsafe conditions at Massachusetts group foster homes. The U.S. Office of Inspector General made unannounced visits to 30 group homes for foster children and found numerous health and safety violations. Our largest number of critical incidents, 42, involved children aged 0 to 3. Another 28 involved teenagers between 16 and 20. While few incidents involved suspected abuse, they also included deaths or injuries from medical conditions, accidents, fires, and suicide. Of the 28 fatalities involving children 0 to 3 in DCF custody, 18 were sudden and unexpected, probably vaccine, huh? Mostly involving a child in an unsafe sleep environment. For teenagers in DCF custody, gunshot wounds were a major source of serious injuries and deaths. The child advocate also reviewed 655 allegations of abuse or neglect involving 429 children. The most reports came from a congregate care, which are settings like group homes. Around 80% of the allegations involved neglect rather than abuse. The child advocate received 339 complaints through its complaint line, with most common complaint being DCF practice, including lack of agency responsiveness and decisions made by social workers. I don't get it. They think they own your children or something, you know what I mean? The group home problems flagged in the federal audit are under the Department of Early Education and Care. 76 deaths last year of children under state supervision. So, the state's going to be your daddy now, huh? The state's going to be your mama? How good. Apparently, they don't have very good child care. They don't treat children too well. It's a bad environment for children. I don't know. I think children should stay with their parents. And I say that plural, parents. Anyway, China deploys 300,000 soldiers to North Korea border in preparation for potential war. Remember, rumors, this is from Zero Hedge. While the specter of a nuclear war with North Korea has faded in recent weeks, China is not taking chances. And ahead of the Winter Olympics in South Korea, the Chinese government has deployed 300,000 troops and multiple mobile strikes groups to its highly guarded border with North Korea, a move which signals that Beijing is quietly gearing for a potential crisis between Kim Jong-un and the United States in the coming months. According to South Korea's Chosun Ilbo News, China is preparing for a potential war on the Korean Peninsula by reinforcing missile defenses near the border with North Korea. Citing a report from Radio Free Asia, military units in Yanbian were relocated from Heilongjiang province, thus adding 300,000 troops along the border. So basically, it looks on January 24th, Taiwan Central News Agency reported that the 78th Group Army, first Chinese military unit that would cross the border in the north in the event of a war on the Korean Peninsula, has been armed with new surface-to-air missiles against South Korean and U.S. aircraft and missiles. So, and of course, that's just days ahead of the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in South Korea. What's peculiar about this escalation is that it comes as Kim Jong-un's regime has, at least optically, attempted to thaw relations with Seoul, wishing the South Korean government a successful competition and hoping to ease military tensions before the games begin. In a rare case of Korean unity, both North and South Korea plan to march into the opening ceremonies under a united Korean flag and will combine their female hockey teams. Meanwhile, Trump has been busy pushing his domestic agenda to engage in Twitter bickering and comparing nuclear button size with Kim Jong-un. Oh, that's just fluff. That's fluff right there. But we know what's going on. It's a psyop. Wars and rumors of wars we heard about in the Bible and so on. Yeah, well, I think this is going to be one of those rumors of wars, if you will. And let's see. All this stuff coming up. Who's the mastermind of Mueller's witch hunt? Trey Gowdy. Trey Gowdy went on Fox News for the first interview since announcing his retirement. Says he's going to retire. He's going to go back into the private firm. Fox reporter Martha McCallum asked Gowdy about a lot of subjects, but the bombshell came when she asked him about the Mueller investigation. McCallum asked how and why Mueller has the jurisdiction to investigate anything he wants in relation to President Trump under the guise of a Russian probe. And Gowdy's response made her jaw drop. He says, I would not blame Bob Mueller. I would blame whoever drafted the jurisdiction for the charter that empowered him. If you look at it, it says matters that may rise from the investigation. What in the heck does that mean? I mean, does that include a bank robbery in Topeka, Kansas? And McCallum says, did that language come from Rod Rosenstein? Gowdy? Yes, ma'am. It's the first public official to come forward and expose Rod Rosenstein for purposely giving Mueller unlimited power to start a witch hunt against Trump. Keep in mind now, Rosenstein is a close friend of Comey. He's only acting as general counsel, the attorney general. He's only acting as attorney general because Sessions had to recuse himself from that or anything related to Russia. So clearly, it's no longer about Russia. It's time for Sessions to either get involved, or resign or get out. Let Trump appoint a new attorney general. I'm telling you, Trump said it once before when he said deep state DOJ. I think he was right on it. I really do. Trey Gowdy says, I think Bob Mueller is a former U.S. attorney and a former FBI director who has had an otherwise really distinguished legal career. Even if a prosecutor wanted to get someone, you've got to have the facts to do it. So we've seen special counselors in the past leave their purview, and the investigation has gone on for a long time. And next thing you know, you're investigating a Monica Lewinsky case when the president didn't even know her when the special counsel began his work. So you don't have any fear of that here. Martha McCallum asked Gowdy, referencing to that special counsel. Gowdy responded by saying he believes special counsel Mueller has already gone off course, and said the person to blame for that would be Rod Rosenstein because he's the mastermind behind giving Mueller broad jurisdiction. It's already gone off the rails. It's already gone too far. Way gone. Rogue UN official reveals Obama behind a historic coup to forcibly remove Trump. Right now, Barack Obama has had a difficult time accepting the fact that he's not president anymore. I think we noticed that, right? He's trying so hard to hold on to power that he gained in his presidency and to remove Trump with his resistance movement. Since then, he's been holding diplomatic meetings with many world leaders, which is a violation of the Logan Act and a serious federal crime. As Obama tries to maintain his power over Donald Trump, the United Nations revealed that Obama is actively engaging in the first coup d'etat in American history against a sitting president. These past few weeks, his tour to Asia has been an excuse to bash President Trump's policies to world leaders around the world. He was seen with President Xi Jinping following Trump's visit a few weeks ago, and of course we know pretty much what's been going on with that. Barack is following the guy, and we have everybody all planted in government now. They did it in the first 8 years, to try to just take him out. Just whatever it takes. They just want to get him out. Can't figure it out. And then, of course, they got pranked. Oh my goodness. Adam Schiff got pranked. Got sent a letter from what was called Russian spies, and they said they wanted to give him nude pictures of Trump, and I guess the campaign was all over it. But then they said, "Oh, we knew it was a prank." Well, if you knew it was a prank, then why did you continue? I don't know, to try to contact these people to see what was going on. I don't get it. Anyway, today, February 7th. 2018, and that, my friends, is what's out there.
Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that we're discussing a little bit later in the text, the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?